Marcus Chun had always been told he was too curious for his own good. Standing at the edge of what the Colonial Survey team had dubbed Kepler's Maw, he understood why his grandmother used to shake her head whenever he brought home injured animals or helped stranded motorists on Earth's highways. The massive sinkhole stretched before him like a wound in the planet's surface, its crystalline walls catching the amber light of Kepler, 442b's twin suns. The survey mission to this world had been routine until yesterday. Humanity had been expanding through the galaxy for 3 centuries, cataloging worlds and establishing research stations on planets that showed promise for future colonization. Kepler 442b checked all the boxes: Earth-like gravity, breathable atmosphere, abundant water, and no signs of intelligent life. Or so they had thought. Marcus adjusted his environmental suit's cooling system as he peered into the geological formation that had appeared overnight. The pit was roughly 200 meters across and at least 50 meters deep, filled partially with what appeared to be a mixture of sand and some kind of luminescent fluid. The survey team's xenogeologist, Dr. Sarah Kim, had been fascinated by the formation's sudden appearance and the strange properties of the substance at its bottom. "Marcus, get back from there," called Dr. Kim from a mobile lab unit positioned safely away from the pit's edge. "We still don't understand what caused this formation or if it's stable." He waved acknowledgement, but didn't move. Something had caught his eye in the depths of the pit. At first, he thought it might be a piece of equipment that had fallen in, but as he activated his suit's optical enhancers, the shape resolved into something far more extraordinary. It was clearly alive, and clearly not from Earth. The creature appeared to be roughly humanoid in shape, but covered in scales that shifted between deep emerald and brilliant gold as it struggled against the luminescent sand that held it fast. What Marcus had initially mistaken for debris were actually wings, powerful-looking appendages that beat futilely against the viscous substance trapping the being. The creature's head was elongated, distinctly reptilian, with a pronounced snout and what appeared to be small horns or ridges along its skull. "Dr. Kim," Marcus called, his voice tight with excitement and concern. "You need to see this." The xenobiologist hurried over, her own enhanced optics already scanning the pit. Her sharp intake of breath confirmed what Marcus had suspected. "Dear God, it's sentient, isn't it? Look at how it's moving, the way it's positioning itself. That's not random struggling." As if responding to their voices, the creature's head turned toward them. Even from this distance, Marcus could see the intelligence in its large amber eyes. The being made a sound, a deep harmonic call that resonated through the crystalline walls of the pit and vibrated through the ground beneath their feet. It wasn't random noise. It was communication. "We have to help it," Marcus said, already moving toward the survey team's equipment cache. "Absolutely not," Dr. Kim replied firmly. "We don't know anything about this species. It could be dangerous. We need to follow protocol, contact the research station, get a full xenobiology team out here. By the time they arrive, that thing will be dead," Marcus pointed out, pulling out environmental rope and climbing gear. "Look at how it's sinking. Whatever that substance is, it's not just holding it, it's pulling it down." "Dr. Kim Chikit Haridin." "You're right. The viscosity appears to be increasing. But, Marcus, we can't just—" Another harmonic call echoed from the pit, this one clearly distressed. The creature had sunk noticeably deeper, the luminescent sand now reaching its chest area. Its struggles were becoming more frantic, but each movement seemed to drag it down further. Marcus had already secured the climbing rope to their vehicle and was checking his descender equipment. "I'm not going to stand here and watch a sentient being die because of protocol. If our positions were reversed, I'd hope they'd do the same." "This is insane," Dr. Kim muttered, but she was already running diagnostics on her portable equipment. "At least take the bioscanner and the universal translator prototype. If you're determined to do this, let's gather as much data as possible." The descent into the pit took longer than expected. The crystalline walls were slippery, and Marcus had to be careful not to dislodge loose material that might fall on the trapped creature below. As he rappelled down, the being watched his progress with obvious intelligence, its calls becoming more frequent and varied in tone. The universal translator, still an experimental piece of technology, began picking up patterns in the creature's vocalizations. By the time Marcus reached the bottom of the pit, the device was offering tentative translations. Help, sinking, gratitude, careful. I'm here to help, Marcus called out, hoping the translator was working both ways. Try to stay still. Don't struggle against the sand. The response was immediate and clear through the translator. Understanding. Appreciation for brave action. Up close, the creature was even more impressive. Standing perhaps 7 feet tall, its scales were incredibly intricate, each one seeming to contain its own pattern of color and light. The wings, now that Marcus could see them clearly, were magnificent things with membranes that caught and refracted the light from above. But it was the creature's face that struck him most. Despite its reptilian features, there was something undeniably expressive about it, something that spoke of intelligence and emotion. The luminescent sand came up to Marcus's waist and immediately began to pull at him. He could feel its strange properties through his environmental suit, the way it seemed to actively grasp at anything that entered it. The creature had been partially buried up to its chest, and Marcus could see that the sand had some kind of corrosive effect on organic matter where it had been in contact. "This is going to hurt," Marcus said, hoping the translator conveyed his sympathy. "I need to dig you out, but I'll have to work fast." "Pain, understanding. Action necessary," came the translated response. Marcus began to work, using a portable excavation tool to carefully remove the sand from around the creature. The substance was unlike anything he had encountered, seeming to resist removal while simultaneously trying to flow back into any void he created. But gradually, he managed to expose more of the creature's body. What he found surprised him. This was clearly a female, and she was magnificent. Her scales were arranged in patterns that spoke of both natural evolution and possible artificial enhancement. Across her torso and arms, he could see what looked like deliberate scarification or possibly some kind of technological integration, intricate patterns that seemed to pulse with their own inner light. As he worked to free her legs from the sand's grip, she spoke again. The translator rendered her words as, "Name sound is Zephyra. Identity acknowledgement desired." "Marcus," he replied, pausing in his work to touch his chest. "My name is Marcus." "Marcus Human Brave," she replied. Zephyra grateful bonded. The way she said bonded made Marcus pause, but there was no time to explore the implications. The sand was continuing to rise, and he could feel his own suit beginning to be affected by prolonged contact with the substance. His equipment was registering increasing pressure readings, suggesting that whatever this material was, it was actively trying to engulf them both. With a final surge of effort, Marcus managed to pull Zephyra's legs free from the sand's grip. She immediately spread her wings, using them to gain leverage and lift herself partially out of the luminescent trap. Together, they began moving toward the rope Marcus had left hanging at the pit's wall. But the sand wasn't giving up easily. With each step, it seemed to grow more aggressive, reaching up in tendrils that tried to wrap around their legs and pull them back down. Zephyra's powerful wings helped, creating downdrafts that disrupted the sand's cohesion. But Marcus could see that they weren't going to make it to the rope at this rate. "Hold on to me," he called out, activating his suit's emergency ascension system. It was designed for solo use and would drain his power cells completely, but it was their only chance. Zephyra wrapped her arms around him, her strength surprising as she lifted them both partially off the surface of the sand. The ascension system engaged, its repulsor fields straining against the combined weight and the sand's pull. For a moment, Marcus thought they weren't going to make it. The system's warnings were flashing red, indicating dangerous overload levels. Then Zephyr did something unexpected. Her scarification began to glow more brightly, and suddenly, Marcus felt a surge of additional power flowing into his suit systems. Somehow, she was sharing her own bioelectrical energy with him, boosting his equipment's capabilities. Together, They rose from the luminescent sand like something out of a myth. Zephyra's wings spread wide as Marcus's ascension system carried them toward the pit's rim. Dr. Kim was there to help pull them to safety, her face a mixture of relief and scientific fascination. As they collapsed on solid ground, breathing heavily, Zephyra turned to Marcus and spoke. The translator rendered her words as life debt created, honor bond established, gratitude eternal acknowledged. Before Marcus could respond, she did something that made both humans step back in surprise. She opened her mouth and released a sound unlike anything they had heard before. It was musical, but also somehow more than music, a complex harmonic pattern that seemed to resonate with the very air around them. The sound carried across the landscape, echoing off distant rock formations and seeming to travel much further than should have been possible. What was that? Dr. Kim asked, her instruments going wild, trying to analyze the acoustic patterns. Zephyra looked at Marcus with those intelligent amber eyes and spoke again. Pack call sent. Honor debt notification transmitted. Family response incoming. Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with his suit's cooling system. Family. Dragons travel in groups, Dr. Kim whispered, checking her long-range sensors. She's just called for backup. Zephyra stood, testing her legs and wings carefully. Despite her ordeal in the sand, she seemed remarkably resilient. She towered over both humans, her presence somehow both magnificent and slightly intimidating now that they were seeing her at full height and aware of her capabilities. She approached Marcus and did something that the xenobiologist in Dr. Kim found fascinating and the human in both of them found slightly alarming. She touched her forehead to his, a gesture that seemed both intimate and formal. Through the translator, her words came clearly. Rescue act acknowledged. Life debt recorded. Honor response required by ancient law. I don't need any payment, Marcus said quickly. I would have done the same for anyone. This seemed to surprise her. She cocked her head, studying him with renewed interest. Payment not offered. Honor debt, different concept. Explanation required. Before Marcus could respond, Dr. Kim's sensors began detecting multiple contacts approaching their location. Whatever Zephyra had called with that harmonic summons, it was on its way. And based on the readings, there were a lot of them. How many? Marcus asked, already knowing he probably didn't want to hear the answer. Zephyra listened to something the humans couldn't hear, her head tilted toward the sky. When she looked back at them, there was something in her expression that might have been amusement. Pack size, 47 members. Arrival time, 2 days standard planetary rotation. Preparation advice, food stock increased, territory space expanded, honor ceremony materials gathered. Marcus and Dr. Kim exchanged glances. The survey team consisted of 12 people. They had supplies for a month-long mission and equipment designed for geological survey work, not first contact protocols with what appear to be a highly organized species of intelligent dragons. Zephyra, Marcus said carefully, what exactly is this honor debt? What does it mean for us? She spread her wings slightly, a gesture that seemed to indicate importance or formality. Human Marcus performed life-save action without compensation expectation. By ancient law, such action creates binding obligation. Pack must respond with equivalent service or greater. Refusal not possible under Code Ancient. Dr. Kim was frantically making notes and running calculations. Marcus, we need to contact the research station immediately. This has gone way beyond survey mission parameters. But as Zephyra prepared to take flight, testing her wings and ensuring she was ready for the journey back to wherever her pack waited, Marcus found himself oddly curious about what was coming. For 3 centuries, humanity had been exploring the galaxy and finding worlds, resources, and occasionally simple life forms. But they had never encountered anything like this, an intelligent species with their own complex social structures and honor codes. Zephyra, he called out as she prepared to leave. When your pack arrives, what should we expect? She turned back to him, and For a moment, he saw something in her expression that might have been anticipation, or perhaps amusement. Expectation, formal acknowledgement ceremony, gift exchange ritual, posible territorial na gutiation. Pack curiosity regarding human species characteristics. And if we refuse the ceremony? This time her expression definitely showed amusement. Refusal not comprehended. Honor debt absolute concept. Pack will wait if necessary. Time patience unlimited for correct honor response. As she launched herself into the air, her powerful wings carrying her gracefully toward the horizon, Marcus watched until she was just a speck against the amber sky. Then, he turned to Dr. Kim, who was still frantically working her communications equipment. Any luck reaching the station? The atmospheric interference is worse than usual today, she replied. But I'm getting through. Station Commander Torres is not going to be happy about this development. Marcus looked back toward the pit where he had first seen Zephyr trapped and struggling. The luminescent sand had already begun to settle and solidify, losing much of its strange properties without the creature's presence to agitate it. In 2 days, they would discover what it meant to be on the receiving end of dragon honor. The thought should have terrified him. Instead, he found himself anticipating the encounter with something approaching excitement. Humanity had spent so long exploring empty worlds and lifeless systems. The prospect of meeting a truly alien intelligence, one with its own rich culture and traditions, represented everything that space exploration was supposed to be about. Of course, he reflected as he helped Dr. Kim pack their equipment. The fact that this particular alien intelligence apparently traveled in groups of nearly 50 and considered itself bound by ancient honor codes to repay debts might make things considerably more complicated than the usual first contact scenarios described in the Colonial Council's handbooks. But then again, Marcus had never been one to back down from a challenge. And something told him that the next 2 days were going to be the most interesting of his life. The emergency communication finally cut through the atmospheric interference just as the twin suns began to set on the horizon. Commander Elena Torres's voice crackled through the comm system with barely contained frustration and disbelief. Let me understand this correctly, Dr. Kim, Torres said, her tone suggesting she was fighting to maintain professional composure. Survey Team Delta has made first contact with an intelligent alien species, and they're sending 47 representatives to conduct some kind of honor ceremony because Chun pulled one of them out of a hole. Marcus winced at the oversimplification, but Dr. Kim maintained her professional demeanor. That's essentially correct, Commander. The being identified herself as Zephyra and made it clear that their cultural code requires a formal response to what she called a life debt. Refusal apparently isn't an option in their social framework. Static filled the channel for several long moments before Torres responded. This is exactly the kind of scenario the Colonial Council warned us about. We have protocols for first contact situations, and they don't include individual team members making unilateral decisions that commit humanity to alien cultural obligations. With respect, Commander, Marcus interjected, I wasn't thinking about humanity or protocols when I saw a sentient being drowning in what was essentially alien quicksand. I was thinking about basic decency. Basic decency doesn't include binding our entire species to unknown alien honor codes. Chun, do you have any idea what kind of diplomatic nightmare this could become? What if this obligation involves territorial concessions? What if it requires resources we can't spare? What if their idea of equivalent honor involves something we find morally objectionable? Dr. Kim consulted her notes from the encounter. Based on Zephyr's statements, it seems to be more ceremonial in nature. She mentioned gift exchange, formal acknowledgement, and possible territorial negotiation. Nothing immediately threatening. Posible territorial negociación. Torres rapata. On a world, we're surveying for potential colonization. Do you see the problem here? Marcus understood the commander's frustration, but he also remembered the intelligence in Zephyr's eyes and the complex patterns of her communication. Commander, We've been exploring space for 3 centuries looking for exactly this kind of contact. We've found resources, habitable worlds, but never a truly intelligent species to communicate with. This could be the most significant event in human history. Or it could be the beginning of our first interstellar conflict, Torres replied grimly. I'm ordering the full xenobiology team to your location immediately. Dr. Miranda Vasquez and her team should arrive within 18 hours. In the meantime, you're to take no further action that might escalate this situation. The communication ended, leaving Marcus and Dr. Kim alone with the implications of what was coming. Around them, the rest of Survey Team Delta was setting up camp for the night, most of them still unaware of the dramatic change their mission had just undergone. We should tell the others, Dr. Kim said, checking her equipment one final time. They deserve to know what they're walking into. The team meeting that evening was unlike any briefing session Marcus had ever attended. Gathered around the portable habitat's central table, 12 humans tried to process the idea that their routine geological survey had become humanity's first formal diplomatic contact with an alien species. Geologist Jake Morrison was the first to break the stunned silence. So let me get this straight. We're about to host a party for 47 alien dragons because Marcus here has a hero complex. They're not dragons exactly, Dr. Kim corrected. The wing structure is different, and their communication patterns suggest a far more sophisticated social organization than any Earth mythological tradition. Based on Zephyr's statements, they appear to have complex laws and cultural practices that have been in place for a considerable time. Engineer Lisa Park looked up from her tablet, where she had been running calculations. Our food supplies are designed for 12 people for 30 days. If we're hosting 47 additional beings for any length of time, we're looking at serious resource management issues. We don't know their dietary requirements yet, pointed out xenogeologist Dr. Sarah Kim. For all we know, they might have completely different nutritional needs. They could be photosynthetic, or they might not even require food during ceremonial periods. Pilot Carlos Restrepo raised his hand. More importantly, what are our evacuation options if things go wrong? The survey shuttle can carry 12 people in an emergency, but that's it. If these dragons decide we've somehow insulted them, we're basically trapped here. The questions and concerns continued for over an hour, but Marcus noticed that despite their worries, none of his teammates suggested abandoning the planet or attempting to avoid the coming encounter. There is something in the air that he recognized from other pivotal moments in human history. The excitement of standing at the threshold of something completely unprecedented. Dr. Kim had been working on the translation algorithms all evening, refining the patterns they had recorded during Marcus's conversation with Zephyra. I've been analyzing the harmonic patterns in her communication, she announced. It's not just language as we understand it. The acoustic structures suggest they're capable of transmitting complex emotional and cultural concepts through sound alone. This pack call she sent wasn't just a message. It was probably a detailed description of the entire encounter, including her emotional state and assessment of Marcus's character. Meaning what exactly? Asked Morrison. Meaning they probably know more about us already than we know about them, Marcus replied, understanding the implications. When Zephyr's pack arrives, they'll have a complete picture of how the rescue played out, how we reacted, maybe even things about human psychology that we're not aware we're broadcasting. The night passed slowly, with team members taking turns on watch and monitoring long-range sensors for any sign of approaching contacts. Marcus found himself unable to sleep, replaying the encounter with Zephyra and tried to imagine what the next day would bring. Dawn on Kepler 442b was a spectacular affair, with the twin suns rising in sequence and painting the landscape in shifting shades of amber and rose. Marcus was checking the perimeter sensors when Dr. Kim called out excitedly from the main habitat. I'm getting readings, she announced. Multiple contacts approaching from the north-northeast. Distance approximately 50 kilometers and closing. The team quickly assembled their monitoring equipment, setting up visual tracking and preparing the improved translation systems Dr. Kim had worked on through the night. Through high-powered optics, they could see them coming, a formation of flying creatures moving with obvious coordination and purpose. Formation patterns suggest military or ceremonial organization. Observe Commander Torres, who had arrived with the xenobiology team just 2 hours earlier. Dr. Miranda Vasquez and her specialists had brought significantly more sophisticated equipment than the survey team possessed, including advanced bioscanners, cultural analysis computers, and diplomatic protocols developed for theoretical first contact scenarios. As the formation drew closer, the impressive nature of what was approaching became clear. These weren't just large flying creatures. They were magnificent beings whose very presence seemed to alter the quality of light around them. Each individual was unique in coloring and size, but all shared the same basic structure Marcus had observed in Zephyra. Powerful wings, scaled bodies that seemed to shift color in the sunlight, and an undeniable air of intelligence and purpose. Lead individual is larger than the others, Dr. Vasquez noted, tracking the formation through her equipment. Possible alpha or leadership hierarchy in play. Zephyra is in the formation, Marcus added, having spotted her distinctive coloring pattern. Third position, left wing of the formation. The dragons began their descent while still several kilometers away, circling the human camp in a pattern that was clearly deliberate and formal rather than aggressive. Their wing movements were synchronized, creating complex harmonic patterns that resonated through the air like living music. They're announcing themselves, Dr. Kim said, her translation equipment working overtime to process the acoustic patterns. Formal arrival protocol. Pack designation, something like Skyborn Clan of the Northern Reaches. Individual identifications. There are too many to translate in real time. As the formation completed its ceremonial approach, Marcus noticed something that made him appreciate the complexity of what they were dealing with. The dragons weren't just flying in formation. They were performing an aerial dance, with individuals moving between positions and patterns that created constantly shifting geometric shapes. It was beautiful, intimidating, and unmistakably sophisticated. The lead dragon, a magnificent creature whose scales seemed to contain entire galaxies of shifting color, descended first. As it landed with surprising grace for something so large, Marcus could see that this individual was significantly older than Zephyra, with more pronounced features and scarification patterns that spoke of age and status. Zephyra landed nearby, and Marcus was struck by how different she seemed in the context of her pack. Where she had been graceful and impressive before, she now appeared almost young and eager, clearly deferring to the older individual while maintaining her own dignity. The pack leader approached the assembled humans with measured steps, its amber eyes taking in every detail of their camp, equipment, and formation. When it spoke, the translation systems rendered its words with formal precision. Greetings acknowledgement to human species representatives. Identity designation. Thorvane, Elder Primary of Skyborn Clan. Purpose statement. Honor debt resolution according to ancient law protocols. Commander Torres stepped forward, having been designated as the official human representative. Greetings, Elder Thorvane. I am Commander Elena Torres, representing the human species in this encounter. We are honored by your presence and seek understanding of your customs. Thorvane's head tilted slightly. A gesture Marcus was learning indicated consideration or evaluation. Human leader Torres demonstrates proper courtesy. Protocol appreciation noted. Honor debt, situation, explanation required before ceremony commencement. Zephyra moved forward and began a detailed account of her rescue. But Marcus quickly realized that her report was far more comprehensive than simple narration. The acoustic patterns she created painted a vivid picture not just of events, but of emotions, motivations, and cultural observations. She was providing her pack with a complete psychological profile of the humans they had encountered. When she finished, Thorvane and several other elderly dragons engaged in a complex harmonic discussion that the translation systems could only partially render. Marcus caught fragments like unusual courage, species characteristic analysis, and honor implications assessment. Finally, Thorvane turned back to the humans. Zephyr Youngling's account confirms significant honor debt creation. Human Marcus performed life preservation action without obligation expectation, demonstrating species characteristic termed courage without calculation. That's a specific cultural concept for them, Dr. Vasquez whispered to Marcus. Acting bravely without considering personal benefit or consequences. It's clearly something they value highly. Thorvane continued. Ancient law requirements specify equivalent response obligation. However, human species presents unusual situation requiring elder council deliberation. Time allowance requested for proper ceremony preparation. Commander Torres nodded. We are willing to accommodate your customs, Elder Thorvane. What kind of time frame and preparation are we looking at? Ceremony requirements include gift preparation, territory blessing protocols, and cultural exchange demonstrations. Time duration, 3 planetary rotations. Preparation assistance offered to human representatives. Over the next several hours, Marcus watched in fascination as 2 completely different species attempted to navigate the complex requirements of formal diplomacy. The dragons had brought their own provisions and established a temporary settlement with remarkable efficiency, creating structures that seemed to grow from the landscape itself through some combination of technology and natural ability. What impressed Marcus most was the obvious intelligence and consideration the dragons showed in every interaction. They were careful not to damage the human equipment, respectful of the camp's organization, and genuinely curious about human culture and capabilities without being invasive. Zephyr sought him out as the day progressed, and their conversations began to reveal the depth of cultural difference they were navigating. Human Marcus, she said, curiosity question regarding motivation patterns. Life preservation action performed without pack consultation or authority permission. Individual decision-making process unfamiliar to dragon understanding. Marcus considered how to explain human individualism to a species that clearly operated on collective decision-making principles. Humans often make individual choices about right and wrong without consulting others. We have pack loyalty, he used their term deliberately, but we also have personal responsibility concepts. This led to a lengthy discussion that drew in other dragons and humans, creating an impromptu cultural exchange session. Marcus learned that dragon society was built around complex clan structures with detailed obligations and responsibilities, but also sophisticated individual roles and specializations. They learned that humans had achieved space travel through a combination of competitive cooperation and individual innovation that fascinated them. As the second day progressed, preparation for the formal honor ceremony took shape. The dragons had created what could only be described as an amphitheater from the landscape itself, using some combination of technology and natural ability to shape stone and earth into graceful curves and terraces. The humans contributed their own preparations, a display of human technology, culture, and achievements that Dr. Vasquez's team had assembled according to standard first contact protocols. But Marcus noticed something else developing, genuine friendship between individuals from both species. Jake Morrison had become fascinated with dragon geological techniques and was spending hours learning from their Earth shapers. Dr. Kim was working closely with dragon historians to understand their record-keeping methods. Even Commander Torres had developed a rapport with Thorvane based on their shared experiences of leadership responsibility. On the evening before the formal ceremony, Zephyra approached Marcus with something that might have been nervousness. Honor ceremony tomorrow will establish formal relationship between species, she said. Gift exchange portion includes personal tokens representing individual characteristics. Human Marcus preparation status inquiry. Marcus realized he had been so focused on the cultural implications of the ceremony that he hadn't considered what he might offer as a personal gift to the being whose life he had saved. Looking around the camp, he spotted something that made him smile. "I think I know exactly what to give you," he told her. "Something that represents human characteristics and individual choice concepts." The ceremony, he reflected as he prepared for what would undoubtedly be the most important day of his life, was going to be far more than a simple cultural exchange. It was becoming the foundation for something unprecedented in human history. True partnership with an alien intelligence that operated on completely different principles, but shared fundamental values of honor, courage, and mutual respect. Tomorrow would determine whether humanity's first contact with intelligent alien life would become a template for future relations or a cautionary tale about the unpredictable consequences of individual human impulses. Either way, Marcus thought as he watched dragon younglings play aerial games with human engineers attempting to understand their flight principles, it was going to be absolutely fascinating. The morning of the honor ceremony dawned with an atmospheric phenomenon that Dr. Kim later described as the planet itself celebrating. The twin suns rose through layers of crystalline clouds that had formed overnight, creating patterns of light that seemed almost too perfect to be natural. Marcus suspected the dragons might have had something to do with the display, though none of them would confirm it when asked. Elder Thorvane approached the human camp at first light, accompanied by what was clearly a formal delegation. The dragons had arranged themselves in precise hierarchical order, with individuals wearing what could only be described as ceremonial adornments. Intricate patterns of metal and crystal worked into their natural scarification, creating designs that caught and amplified the morning light. "Ceremony commencement preparation complete," Thorvane announced. "Human readiness inquiry before formal proceedings initiation." Commander Torres, wearing the dress uniform she had packed for formal occasions, stepped forward to respond. "The humans are prepared, Elder Thorvane. We are honored to participate in your traditions." What followed was a processional that revealed the true sophistication of dragon culture. Each member of the clan took a position in the natural amphitheater they had created, but their arrangement wasn't random. Marcus realized they were organizing themselves according to complex social relationships and roles that created a living representation of their entire cultural structure. "It's like a family tree made flesh," Dr. Vasquez whispered, her anthropological training allowing her to recognize the patterns. "Look at how the younger ones are positioned relative to their elders, how the specialists are grouped, but also integrated. Their entire social organization is on display." The humans were guided to positions of honor at the center of the arrangement, with Marcus placed directly across from Zephyra in a configuration that clearly emphasized his role as the primary participant in the ceremony. The symbolism was obvious. This was about the connection between two individuals, but also about the connection between two species. Thorvane began with what the translation systems rendered as a formal recitation of the events leading to the ceremony. But as Marcus listened, he realized this wasn't just storytelling. The elder was weaving together multiple narrative threads: the history of honor-debt traditions in dragon culture, the significance of cross-species rescue actions, and the potential implications for future relations between their peoples. Ancient law speaks of courage without calculation as highest virtue expression. Thorvane intoned, the harmonic patterns of his speech creating resonances that seemed to vibrate through the very stone of the amphitheater. Individual who preserves life essence of unknown being demonstrates character trait valued above wealth accumulation or power achievement. The other dragons began to add their voices, creating a complex musical background that transformed Thorvane's speech into something approaching song. Marcus found himself moved by the beauty of it, but also impressed by the sophisticated cultural concepts being expressed. Human species demonstrates unexpected characteristic, the elder continued. Individual decision making without clan consultation shows confidence in personal judgment. Such traits suggest species evolution toward independent wisdom development. Dr. Kim leaned toward Marcus. They're not just acknowledging what you did, she whispered. They're analyzing human psychology and drawing conclusions about our entire evolutionary path. This is advanced xenopsychology in real time. The ceremony continued with what could only be described as a formal presentation of dragon culture and achievements. Various clan members came forward to demonstrate their specialized abilities. Earth-shaping that created delicate sculptures from raw stone, bioluminescent displays that painted complex patterns in the air, and harmonic compositions that seemed to alter the very quality of sound itself. But Marcus noticed something remarkable happening. Rather than simply showing off their capabilities, the dragons were clearly attempting to find common ground with human achievements. When they demonstrated their advanced metallurgy techniques, they compared them to human engineering principles they had observed in the survey team's equipment. When they showed their artistic traditions, they asked questions about human aesthetic concepts. This isn't just cultural exchange, Commander Torres observed. They're actively looking for compatibility points between our species. This is diplomatic groundwork for future relations. When it came time for the humans to present their own cultural achievements, Marcus was struck by how different their approach was from dragon traditions, yet how the dragons responded with obvious interest and appreciation. Dr. Vasquez had prepared a presentation on human exploration history, from the first ocean voyages to interstellar expansion, that emphasized humanity's drive to explore the unknown and help others. The dragons were particularly fascinated by human concepts of individual heroism and personal responsibility. When Dr. Kim explained how humans often acted on moral impulses without consulting authority figures, several dragons engaged in animated discussions about the implications for decision-making efficiency and social adaptation. But the heart of the ceremony came when Thorvane called for the formal gift exchange between Marcus and Zephyra. This, the elder explained, would establish the personal bond that honored the life debt, while also creating a symbolic connection between their species. Zephyra approached Marcus, carrying something that took his breath away. It was a piece of dragon craftsmanship unlike anything he had imagined possible. A crystalline sculpture that seemed to contain actual starlight, worked into the shape of a human figure pulling a dragon figure for what was clearly meant to represent the luminescent sandpit. Personal memory crystallization, she explained, her voice carrying overtones of emotion that the translation system rendered as gratitude, respect, and affection. Event preservation for clan history records and individual remembrance purposes. Marcus accepted the gift with genuine awe. The crystal seemed to pulse with its own inner light, and he could swear he saw actual scenes from their encounter playing out in miniature within its structure. This is incredible, Zephyra. I've never seen anything so beautiful. Human appreciation acknowledged with joy resonance, she replied. Return gift, anticipation present. Marcus had spent considerable time deciding what to give Zephyra, and had finally settled on something that represented both human technology and human values. He pulled out a device that looked deceptively simple, a standard human emergency beacon, but one that he had programmed with a special message. This is an emergency communicator, he explained, but I've programmed it with coordinates for Earth and a message that identifies you as a friend of humanity. If you ever need help, if your clan ever faces danger that we could assist with, activate this device and human ships will come. The silence that followed his explanation was profound. Marcus realized that every dragon in the amphitheater had gone completely still, their attention focused entirely on the small device in Zephyr's hands. Thorvane spoke first, his voice carrying undertones that the translation system struggled to render. Human Marcus offers mutual aid pact extending beyond individual obligation. Clan assistance promise represents species-level commitment without authority consultation. Marcus felt a moment of panic as he realized the implications of what he had done. By offering future aid to Zephyr's clan, he was essentially committing humanity to an alliance he had no authority to make. But, looking at the faces around him, he saw that his teammates were nodding in approval, and even Commander Torres was smiling. Sometimes, The commander said clearly enough for the translation systems to pick up. Individual humans make commitments that represent the best of what our species can become. Marcus speaks for himself, but his offer reflects human values that we all share. What happened next exceeded every expectation Marcus had harbored about the ceremony. Instead of accepting the gift with formal acknowledgement, Zephyra began to sing. It was the most beautiful sound he had ever heard, a harmonic composition that seemed to weave together every emotion he had experienced since arriving on this world. The other dragons joined her, creating a musical piece that told the story of their encounter, the developing friendship between their species, and the promise of future cooperation. But it was more than music. Marcus could feel the emotional content of their song affecting him directly, creating a sense of connection and belonging he had never experienced before. When the song ended, Thorvane stepped forward with obvious satisfaction. Ceremony completion achieved, with success parameters exceeded. Honor debt fulfilled through gift exchange and mutual commitment establishment. New phase relationship development now possible. But the ceremony wasn't quite over. The elder continued with what was clearly the most significant part of the proceedings. Ancient law provides for honorary clan membership extension in cases of extraordinary virtue demonstration. Skyborn Clan offers human Marcus adoption status with full privileges and obligations. Marcus felt his knees go weak as the implications hit him. Are you offering to make me a member of your clan? Adoption status includes clan protection, resource access, territorial rights, and decision participation privileges, Thorvane confirmed. Obligations include clan defense, honor code adherence, and cultural preservation responsibilities. Acceptance decision individual choice, no pressure application intended. Dr. Vasquez was practically vibrating with excitement. Marcus, do you understand what this represents? They're offering you citizenship in their society. This could be the foundation for formal diplomatic relations between our species. But Marcus was looking at Zephyra, who was watching him with an expression that somehow conveyed hope, anticipation, and affection. The decision wasn't about diplomacy or cultural significance. It was about friendship and the connections that could form between individuals despite their differences. I accept, he said, his voice carrying across the amphitheater. I am honored to be adopted into the Skyborn clan. What followed was a celebration that lasted well into the evening. Dragons and humans mingled freely, sharing food, stories, and demonstrations of their respective capabilities. Marcus found himself learning dragon songs while teaching Zephyra and others basic human games and concepts. But the most significant moment came when Thorvane approached him privately as the formal festivities wound down. Adoption status includes privilege responsibility not yet mentioned, the elder said, his voice taking on undertones of serious importance. Clan member Marcus now possesses knowledge of clan territories, resource locations, and strategic considerations. Information responsibility includes discretion obligation and wisdom application requirements. Marcus began to understand that his adoption wasn't just ceremonial. You're trusting me with sensitive information about your people. Trust establishment represents calculated risk based on character evaluation, Thorvane confirmed. Clan survival occasionally requires external alliance considerations. Human species demonstrates potential compatibility for mutual benefit arrangements. What kind of arrangements? Thorvane's response revealed the true scope of what was happening. Skyborn clan territory includes mineral resources of significant value and strategic locations for expansion operations. Human space travel capabilities combined with dragon resource access creates opportunity potential for mutual prosperity. Marcus realized he was being offered a glimpse of something far larger than the immediate cultural exchange. The dragons weren't just interested in honoring a life debt. They were evaluating humanity as potential partners in their own expansion and development plans. There are others, Thorvane continued. Other clans with different perspectives regarding alien contact protocols. Skyborn clan decision to pursue human alliance, not universally supported among dragon species. You're telling me there might be opposition to our relationship from other dragon clans? Possibility acknowledgement accurate. Some clans prefer isolation maintenance and territorial exclusivity. Others pursue resource acquisition through dominant strategies rather than cooperation methods. Marcus felt a chill as he grasped the implications. Are you saying there could be conflict? Conflict potential exists if expansion interests collide without diplomatic resolution. Skyborn clan preference. Cooperation-based solution through alliance development. Alternative approaches by other clans could prove problematic for all parties. As the evening concluded and preparations began for the dragon's departure the following morning, Marcus found himself contemplating a future far more complex than anyone had imagined when he rappelled down into that luminescent sand pit. What had begun as a simple rescue operation had evolved into humanity's first interstellar alliance, but also potentially its first interstellar diplomatic challenge. Zephyra approached him one final time before the clan settled in for the night. "Clan brother Marcus," she said, using a term of address that the translation systems rendered with obvious affection and respect. Gratitude expression inadequate for life preservation and friendship development achievements. "Being able to call you friend is reward enough," Marcus replied honestly. "But I think this is just the beginning of something much larger." Agreement acknowledgement present. Beginning phase completion achieved. Next phase challenges await resolution through wisdom application and courage maintenance. As Marcus settled into his sleeping area that night, surrounded by the gentle harmonies of dragon sleep songs and the quiet conversations of his human teammates, he reflected on the extraordinary turn his life had taken. 3 days ago, he had been a survey team geologist studying rock formations on a distant world. Now he was an honorary member of an alien clan, humanity's first interstellar diplomat, and quite possibly a key figure in determining whether humanity's future among the stars would be built on cooperation or conflict. The rescue that had started it all seemed simple in retrospect, almost inevitable. But its consequences were only beginning to unfold, and Marcus suspected that the choices made in the coming days and weeks would echo through history for generations to come. The morning of the Skyborn clan's scheduled departure brought an unexpected development that would reshape everything Marcus thought he understood about the situation. He was awakened before dawn by Zephyra's urgent harmonics, a sound that immediately brought every human in the camp to full alertness. "Clan brother Marcus," she said, her voice carrying undertones of tension and concern. "Emergency situation development requires immediate consultation. Other clan approach detected during night cycle monitoring." Marcus quickly dressed and joined Thorvane and several other dragon elders who were gathered at the edge of the camp, their attention focused on the horizon. Even without enhanced optics, he could see them, another formation of dragons approaching, but their flight pattern was nothing like the ceremonial approach the Skyborn clan had used. "Identification confirmed," Thorvane reported grimly. "Ironclaw Confederation representatives, led by Warlord Drakmor. Timing coincidence unlikely, suggests monitoring surveillance of clan movements." Dr. Vasquez, who had become something of an expert in dragon politics over the past few days, immediately grasped the implications. "This is the opposition faction you mentioned. They're here to challenge your alliance with us." "Challenge potential confirmed," Thorvane acknowledged. Ironclaw philosophy emphasizes territorial dominance and resource control through strength demonstration rather than cooperation methods. Human alliance represents threat to traditional approaches. Commander Torres was already coordinating with her team, preparing for what could become humanity's first hostile contact with alien intelligence. But Marcus found himself thinking beyond the immediate tactical situation to the larger implications. "Thorvane," he said, "what exactly does this mean for the humans? Are we caught in the middle of a dragon civil war?" The elder's response was both reassuring and concerning. Human species, not primary target of Ironclaw attention. However, Alliance prevention represents strategic objective for dominance-oriented clans. Demonstration of force probable to discourage cooperation development. As the Iron Claw formation drew closer, Marcus could see the differences between them and the Skyborn clan. Where Zephyr's people were graceful and artistic in their presentation, these newcomers appeared more aggressive and militaristic. Their scales were darker, their formations more rigid, and their approach carried an undeniable sense of threat. The lead dragon of the Iron Claw formation was massive, significantly larger than Thorvane, with scarification patterns that spoke of many battles. When he landed, the ground seemed to shake under his weight, and his presence radiated the kind of authority that came from commanding through strength rather than wisdom. Greetings acknowledgement withheld, the newcomer announced, his voice a bass rumble that made the translation system strain to process. Warlord Drakmor addresses Skyborn Elder regarding unauthorized contact protocols with alien species. Thorvane's response was diplomatic but firm. Greetings extension offered regardless of reception status. Skyborn clan actions conform to ancient law requirements regarding honor debt resolution. Authorization necessity disputed. What followed was a complex discussion in Dragon harmonics that pushed the translation systems beyond their capabilities. Marcus caught fragments about territorial rights, resource claims, and what seemed to be fundamental disagreements about how dragon society should interact with other species. But the conversation was interrupted when Drakmor's attention turned directly to the humans. Alien species evaluation required, he announced, his amber eyes fixing on Marcus with unsettling intensity. Individual characteristics assessment necessary for threat potential determination. Before anyone could object, the warlord began what could only be described as an interrogation. His questions, rendered by the translation systems, revealed a sophisticated but hostile intelligence seeking to understand human motivations, capabilities, and potential weaknesses. Human rescue action motivation inquiry, Drakmor demanded. Benefit expectation analysis for life preservation behavior toward unknown species. Marcus realized this was a crucial moment. His answer wouldn't just affect his own safety, but could determine the course of relations between dragons and humans for generations to come. The warlord was testing whether humans were motivated by hidden agenda or genuine altruism. I helped Zephyra because she was in danger, and I could do something about it, Marcus replied, keeping his voice steady despite the intimidating presence before him. No benefit expected, no hidden purpose, just basic decency. Drakmor's head tilted in the gesture Marcus had learned indicated evaluation. Deception detection analysis, negative results. Statement sincerity confirmed. However, species pattern evaluation requires broader sample investigation. What happened next revealed the true sophistication of dragon intelligence gathering. Drakmor's retinue had apparently been monitoring human communications and analyzing their behavior patterns since the Skyborn clan's arrival. They had built a comprehensive psychological profile of humanity based on 3 days of observation. Human species demonstrates unusual characteristics, Drakmor announced. Individual initiative combined with collective loyalty creates unpredictable behavior patterns. Potential threat assessment, moderate to high, based on expansion capabilities and resource acquisition efficiency. Commander Torres stepped forward, recognizing the need for formal diplomatic response. Warlord Drakmor, humanity seeks peaceful cooperation with all intelligent species. We have no desire for conflict or territorial disputes. Peaceful cooperation claims require verification through testing, Drakmor replied. Strength assessment necessary for accurate relationship establishment. Before anyone could ask what he meant by testing, the warlord did something that transformed the entire dynamic of the encounter. He challenged Marcus to individual combat. Honor debt establishment through combat trial, Drakmor announced. Human Marcus demonstrates courage without calculation through rescue action. Courage under pressure requires separate verification for complete assessment. The challenge sent shock waves through both groups. Thorvane immediately protested that such testing violated the protocols of the honor ceremony they had just completed, while Commander Torres began calculating the diplomatic implications of either accepting or refusing the challenge. But Marcus surprised everyone, including himself, by stepping forward. "I accept your challenge, Warlord Dracmore." "Marcus, absolutely not," Dr. Kim protested. "This isn't some honorable duel. The thing could kill you with one claw swipe." Dracmore's response revealed the complexity of Dragon honor codes. Combat trial death prohibition in effect. Strength assessment through skill demonstration and courage evaluation only. Lethal force forbidden under ancient law provisions. Zephyra quickly explained the implications. Trial combat represents formal testing of character traits and decision-making under pressure. Victory conditions based on courage display and tactical thinking rather than physical dominance. Participation choice remains individual decision. Marcus understood that this was about more than personal honor. The outcome of this challenge would likely determine whether humanity's first contact with Dragon Society would be built on mutual respect or dominated by the more aggressive faction's territorial instincts. "What are the terms?" he asked, his mind already working through possible strategies. Dracmore's explanation revealed the true nature of Dragon trial combat. Rather than simple physical confrontation, it was a complex test involving multiple challenges designed to evaluate courage, intelligence, and moral character under pressure. 3-trial structure, the Warlord explained. First trial, courage under threat demonstration. Second trial, problem-solving under time-pressure conditions. Third trial, sacrifice willingness evaluation through moral choice scenarios. As the trial preparations began, Marcus found himself supported by both Dragon clans in unexpected ways. Thorvane provided advice on Dragon's psychological techniques for maintaining calm under pressure, while even some of Dracmore's followers seemed to appreciate Marcus's willingness to face the challenge. The first trial involved Marcus demonstrating courage while facing simulated threats created through Dragon biotechnology. Dracmore's Earthshapers created a series of increasingly dangerous situations that required Marcus to make split-second decisions while maintaining his commitment to preserving life and protecting others. What impressed the watching Dragons wasn't Marcus's physical capabilities, which are obviously limited compared to their own, but his consistent pattern of making decisions that prioritized others' safety over his own. Even when faced with scenarios designed to trigger self-preservation instincts, he continued to seek solutions that would protect the maximum number of individuals. The second trial tested his problem-solving abilities through a complex puzzle that required understanding Dragon resource allocation principles and finding solutions that balance competing clan interests. Marcus's approach, which sought win-win solutions rather than zero-sum dominance, clearly surprised Dracmore and his followers. But it was the third trial that truly revealed the depth of human character traits that Dragons found both fascinating and concerning. Marcus was presented with a scenario where he could save his human teammates at the cost of harming Dragon civilians, or protect the Dragons while risking his own people's safety. His response shocked everyone present. Instead of choosing either option, Marcus spent precious time analyzing the scenario until he found a third alternative that protected everyone involved, even though it required him to take significant personal risks. Impossible choice scenario designed for failure demonstration, Dracmore admitted afterward. Solution discovery outside expected parameters. Human thought patterns demonstrate unusual flexibility and sacrifice willingness that contradicts species assessment models. When the trials concluded, Marcus had not only passed, but had fundamentally altered Dracmore's understanding of human psychology and potential. The Warlord's final assessment surprised everyone, including his own followers. Human species evaluation revised, Dracmore announced formally. Threat potential assessment reduced due to demonstrated preference for cooperation solutions over dominant strategies. Recommendation status. Cautious alliance consideration rather than territorial exclusion protocols. But the real surprise came when Dracmore made an unexpected offer. Ironclaw Confederation proposes dual-clan protection agreement for human species. Skyborne Cooperation Alliance, combined with Ironclaw Strength Guarantee, provides optimal security for expansion operations. Thorvane's response revealed that Marcus's actions had accomplished something remarkable. Dual-clan protection unprecedented in Confederation history. Human Marcus achievements create new precedent for interspecies relationship development. As the implications of this development sank in, Marcus realized that what had started as a simple rescue had evolved into humanity's first formal alliance structure with an alien civilization. Not only would humans have the cooperation and cultural exchange offered by the Skyborne clan, but they would also have the protection and territorial security provided by the more militaristic Ironclaw Confederation. Commander Torres immediately recognized the strategic significance. This could change everything about human expansion into this sector. With Dragon allies providing both cultural guidance and military protection, we could establish permanent settlements and research facilities that would be safe from other potential threats. But Zephyra pulled Marcus aside for a private conversation that revealed the personal cost of his achievements. Clan brother status now includes obligation responsibilities to both clans. Future choices will affect not only human-dragon relations, but also inter-clan stability. Pressure burden significant for individual shoulders. Marcus understood what she was telling him. His actions had made him a key figure in maintaining the delicate balance between two very different dragon factions, and any mistakes he made could potentially destabilize the entire alliance structure. Are you saying I've become responsible for keeping the peace between your clans? Responsibility sharing arrangement, she corrected. Human species demonstrates problem-solving capabilities that complement dragon strength and wisdom traditions. Partnership potential exists for addressing challenges that neither species could resolve independently. As the various factions prepared for departure and the establishment of permanent diplomatic channels, Marcus found himself contemplating a future far different from anything he could have imagined when he first spotted a trapped dragon in luminescent sand. The rescue that had seemed like a simple moral choice had become the foundation for humanity's first interstellar alliance, but also the beginning of responsibilities and challenges that would define the rest of his life. He was no longer just Marcus Chun, geologist. He was Marcus Chun, honorary clan member, trial champion, and, inadvertently, one of the key architects of humanity's place among the stars. 3 months later, as he stood in the observation deck of Kepler Station, the first permanent human-dragon joint facility, Marcus watched Skyborne and Ironclaw dragons working alongside human engineers and scientists to build something unprecedented, a truly integrated interstellar civilization. Zephyra approached him, her scales shimmering with patterns that Marcus had learned indicated contentment and hope. Regret evaluation regarding rescue decision? She asked, a question that had become something of a running joke between them. Marcus smiled, watching human children learning to fly with young dragons in the station's central courtyard, seeing the artistic collaborations between species that created beauty neither could achieve alone, observing the technological advances that emerged from combining human innovation with dragon wisdom. No regrets, he replied, as he always did. Sometimes the right choice is the obvious choice. Help when you can, protect when you must, and trust that good things grow from good decisions. Human wisdom demonstration continues to surprise and delight, Zephyra responded. Future potential unlimited when courage without calculation combines with cooperation without reservation. Looking out at the stars that now represented not just human exploration territory, but a shared frontier between allied species, Marcus reflected that the universe had turned out to be far more interesting than anyone had expected. And it had all started with something as simple as refusing to let someone drown in alien quicksand. Sometimes, he thought, the most profound changes in history began with the most basic human impulse, the inability to walk away from someone who needed help. That impulse had given humanity its first true alien allies, its first glimpse of a universe filled with intelligence and culture, and its first real hope that the galaxy might be a place where different species could build something beautiful together. The dragon who had changed everything with her gratitude had taught him something important. Every rescue creates ripples that extend far beyond the immediate moment. Sometimes those ripples become waves that reshape entire worlds.